reviewed Five Nights at Freddy.
I listened to that.
Yes.
Because both my kids saw it, the two that are here.
Yeah.
And you clearly, like you guys pointed out, they're catering to their audience. I mean, and no one else.
And then no one else. Yes.
Yeah, no one else is right.
Yeah, my kid was he saw it with me at the movie theater, and he is all into the video games, and we wanted him to join us, but he couldn't because he had a big swim meet. So he couldn't join.
Yeah, that would have been a good persprise.
Yeah, that's the kid's perspective. And actually, he liked it, and he went with some of his swim buddies. He saw it again. Full price at the theater.
Yeah, my youngest daughter saw it, and she liked the movie, but it was funny because she said the group that she went with would not shut up. They would talk like loud through the whole movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys had that experience with other young people in the audience. Were they talking to the screen? Or?
I was fortunate enough to see it on Peacock in my house, so no, there was no talking.
Okay.
But let's jump right in. Welcome to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. We're here with director Scott Eggleston, friend of the show, I think is a fair way to put that, right?
Yes, it's always great to have you.
Director of Bad Bones. And, Scott, before we get into it, you have a brand new short coming out. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I did make a short for the 5-day Film Royal, the Halloween edition. It's called Die Packed. And it'll be on YouTube here pretty soon. So.
Excellent.
Okay, definitely want to check that one out.
5 lines of dialogue in your...
No, it was weird because they didn't. Usually they'll give you a bunch of prompts like location, prop, the line of dialogue, and all they did this time was it had to be spooky.
Ooh, and was it spooky?
I don't know.
Well, we'll check that out for sure. But hey, today,
that should be a goal of us. Maybe as a group have that next year, we could all make a little spooky movie.
Okay, right. Well, we'll see how busy Scott Eggleston is when that rolls around. But today we're talking about this movie that I couldn't remember last week, but it's called No One Will Save You, currently playing on Hulu, alien invasion kind of movie. Gene, initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts. Well, first of all, this movie is like one of those discovery movies. It's like you don't know anything, but the character doesn't know anything either. And so as the character discovers things, the mystery, as the viewer, you discover it too. So you automatically are kind of drawn into the character. You like the character, and then you're in. You like the journey. And so, this movie is interesting. It runs like about 90 minutes or so, but there are only 5 words spoken in the whole movie. 5. I counted them. 5. And so, but it's great. I would definitely recommend this movie. It's scary. Well, maybe. There are some parts, for sure. There's some parts that deal with like a universal fear of like home invasion, like that. But, the movie, it keeps your interest, and I can't see anybody like watching this movie and really not liking it.
All right, well, that's a good segue because I have some insider information. Scott, where are you at with this one?
Well, you just met somebody, Gene, because I hated this movie.
Oh, really? That's so awesome.
Yeah, my biggest issues with this film, I think, and we're going to go into it, I'm sure, was that it was incredibly unoriginal to a fault. I felt like all movies are derivative; they all inspired by other movies. But this movie felt to me like a copy and paste film, where it's like they took parts of other movies or other shows that they'd seen and did not put any kind of original spin on it. In fact, I was surprised at how dated this movie felt with some of the alien invasion stuff. It felt like an X-Files episode.
Sure.
Complete with, saucers and gray aliens and pillars of light coming from the UFO.
Yep.
Almost to the point of parody, in my opinion. And that would be okay if the film worked. But for me, it felt really unoriginal, very repetitive, especially in the second act, where you had a lot of cat and mouse stuff that was going on with the aliens, different types of aliens.
Sure.
But it was, because of that, I felt I was bored. I liked the lead performance, but I felt like this movie just didn't know what to do with itself in the second act until it finally started to do something interesting toward the end. But I can talk about that later because that kind of infuriated me too. So.
It really didn't.
Yeah, it just made me mad. I get mad at movies like this when I see like they're clearly talented people behind them with a budget. This movie's made for like $22 million. I mean, Blumhouse could have made 4 movies, with the budget and better movies. So. Anyway.
Well, I'm kind of...
its production values were high.
This is an interesting episode because Gene likes it, Scott hates it. I'm kind of...
Hates.
I'm in the middle here. I'll actually look at this one similar to my review of like Five Nights at Freddy's from last week, where it's just this thing. It happens. There's some cool stuff that does happen. All the alien...
No, there's no cool stuff in Five Nights at Freddy's.
no, I'm saying you're right.
There's what?
Well,
I don't even know what to say about Five Nights at Freddy's, except it just sucks.
The one cool part in Five Nights at Freddy's was when that one animatronic did bite that woman in half.
Yes. Okay, so,
but anyway, we're still talking about that movie, even though we both did not like it. But the thing, Scott, and I know you're a big Twilight Zone fan, because as this movie was playing out, I'm like, oh, they're doing a riff on the Invaders episode of Twilight Zone, with Agnes Moorehead, where she has no dialogue in that entire episode. And the reason, of course, is because, it's actually... the American space program landing on her planet.
Great episode.
And so I was thinking, they're maybe going to go down this line where, it's a totally different alien invasion thing. But I thought, like Close Encounters, it's very reminiscent of that.
It is.
And even something as wacky as like Mars Attacks with like the saucers and stuff, it's kind of derivative of that. But as far as the action sequences, because this movie doesn't take a lot of time setting itself up. No. There's about 5 minutes in the beginning where, she's going through this trauma. The townspeople don't really pay attention to her. Yeah. And then, bam.
But to me, it lays out a mystery. Is like what happened that she is an outcast. Like,
and when you find out, it doesn't make any sense, in my opinion.
I think it makes total sense.
When you find out why she's a pariah.
It makes total sense.
But the way it's presented, it's like they hate her because of this, which was essentially an accident. And they can't, and they spit in her face.
To me, that was my favorite scene actually, because there's this great scene where she's trying to go to the police to get help.
An alien invaded her house. I'm going to go police. Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
And of course, there's no dialogue. So
no dialogue.
Which again, I don't know why they did that either. It's not organic to the story. It almost feels like a gimmick. So anyway, continue,
and I agree with you.
No, it adds to the mystery for sure.
Then she just gets
why did they make this movie? That was the mystery I was wondering.
There's some deep stuff here you guys are just missing.
Okay, well, hit us with it, Gene.
Well, I would say this movie, the big theme for me here is like forgiveness. Okay, and I don't know, she's an outcast because she is close friends with this little girl called Maud. And when they're both 12, kids fight. You fight even with your best friends, right? So they had a fight. Bryn, that's the protagonist, Bryn and Maud had a fight. Maud pushes her down. Bryn is mad. She picks up a rock and hits Maud and hits her in the temple, kills her. So I would say that's, in a way, that's a very purposeful action. She's angry. She grabs a rock. She kills Maud. And it comes out. The police find out. The movie doesn't say some things, but some things I think are obvious. Though. So, and to me, this movie is really is about like forgiveness. Is that Bryn has never been forgiven for what she's done. Clearly, she's probably spent some time, in some kind of juvenile detention facility, and I think that delays your personal growth. And so she came out. And then she's more of an adult, and then her mom is taken away because she dies. And then she wants to live in her house. She doesn't want to go to a new town. So she stays in her house, but no one in the town has forgiven her for killing Maud, especially the parents. They just don't forgive her for this. And so her life is incomplete. Her life cannot move on to the next phase and she tries really hard to move on, but she can't. She's stuck because she doesn't have forgiveness. And so I see this whole movie is laying out this theme, of forgiveness. And then finally at the end, I don't know, maybe we can talk about that more.
Well, but, you're not pointing out as well that it's not just the town not forgiving her. She hasn't forgiven herself because she
keeps writing letters to Maud. Even years later, she starts writing the letters when she's a kid, but then she continues as an adult. She's writing letters to Maud. Yeah.
But Scott, everything Gene says is garbage, right?
No. I mean, the theme is there. Clearly, that's what it's about. I just don't like the way it was handled, and I felt like you could take the first act of this movie and the third act and stick them together and still have a movie that made linear sense. But that stuff in the middle just seemed to be filler, and it wasn't done all that well, in my opinion, because I was bored. Because, like I said, the cat and mouse stuff kept happening over and over. And to me, it wasn't thrilling. Especially, I was kind of surprised in the first act when they reveal all the aliens, right? I mean,
the movie just goes right at it, because I like that, because a lot of movies they just take time to develop, and it's just like
that's called
there.
Suspense, Gene.
I don't know. Some movies do it well, and other movies you're just like, come on. But this movie just jumps right at it. It just goes for it. It's right there. You're not waiting too long. Yeah, the aliens in the house, and yeah.
But then it's good. But for me, it didn't seem to have anywhere to go after the end of the first act when it reveals itself. Yeah. Almost like E.T., by the way, which I kind of felt that this movie had a tone problem, because part of the time it felt like it was trying to almost make the aliens endearing, which it does at the end, for sure. And they're also supposed to be these malicious killers, and I felt like that was a problem. It gets almost comical in the first act with the refrigerator flopping around and
the little alien guy that's doing the whole
exactly
thing.
Yeah, it's like the aliens have different forms, if you will.
Yeah. But they're all lifted from other movies. I mean, that's why I had a problem with it being feeling so unoriginal. Was like the aliens. Sure. How often have we seen that?
Yeah, the aliens, the look of the aliens.
CGI aliens, by the way, which was not scary because of that.
Some of the CGI definitely was obvious, for sure. The little one, especially the little guy.
Yeah, I could live with that, though.
Well, it's a horror movie. We're living with it, but it was not at the level.
But I see it differently, though, because Bryn has the encounter with the original alien. And somehow she kills that guy. She has like some piece of wood from a destroyed like dollhouse in her hand, and the alien, they have the ability to move things with their mind. So the alien picks her up, kind of flings her around, and just the momentum of her spinning that thing that's in her left hand gets stuck in the alien's left temple, and he dies. And so then I think that shows a little difference for Bryn, the protagonist there, because then she battles with like two more aliens, and she kills them too. So I think it kind of separates her from maybe the rest of the aliens, or in the alien's mind, it separates this particular maybe Earthling. She's different because she fights effectively, whereas maybe with the other people they were more pushovers. So, for the lack of a better phrase, but I think definitely in the end, the aliens they treat Bryn with a sort of like reverence. They treat her differently, and so I think her outcome is ultimately different than the outcome of the other, Earthlings.
So how do you explain her attitude at the end of the movie?
Where she is
because it's this idyllic like 50s dance thing which goes on way too long.
How can you guys miss this? It's right there. Okay, so the way I see it, there's this parasite. Okay, finally the aliens is like, this is enough, and they bring in the big guns, and so they paralyze Bryn, and they put a little parasite in her mouth, and that kind of causes visions, and she sees a grown-up Maud. And there's the lines of dialogue in the movie. Bryn says, I had to write it down. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Maud.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Maud. And then Maud says, or back to her, I'm sorry as well. But then she kind of realizes that it's a dream, and then she kind of breaks out of it. She pulls the parasite out of her mouth, and she returns to her regular being. And then I think after that she fights the other aliens, and she vanquishes them. But then the aliens, after that parasite is then they said that ubiquitous light beam, I guess, on the parasite, and they turn that parasite into another Bryn, a doppelganger or whatever, and that doppelganger goes after the real Bryn and stabs her. But then there's a little pseudo conflict, and then the real Bryn with a box cutter kills the doppelganger. Yeah, but the real Bryn is stabbed. She has a mortal wound. She just is not escaping that. But the aliens bring her up into the ship, and they have dialogue, and they make a decision about what they're going to do with this one woman. But they seem to be interested in her because they relive her experience. And then as an audience, we kind of see what happened. You know, we see that that actual encounter where she kills Maud. You know, we see that. And so now we understand, as an audience, we understand. But then she appears back on the earth. She's a regular person. And then she lies down, you know, it's coming to an end. It's just, you know, blood loss. And then she dies. She physically dies. And then, well, when the aliens put her back on the planet, their role in her life ends. So when she dies, she just dies, like all of us are going to do. You know, and I think then it's the little picture of, like, what is maybe heaven like for Bryn, you know. So I think that's just maybe what is happening to her when she dies.
So you're saying she's dead at the end?
Oh, yeah, she dies. She physically dies. Because she's lying on the ground, and she's in a lot of pain, and then all of a sudden you see this little light, and then she starts laughing. I think right there at that moment she died, and she went wherever we go when we die. So, yeah, she physically died.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that.
No. I'm pretty sure I'm right because I've got evidence from the movie to back me up. You guys are wrong.
Welcome to Gene Talks Movies today. I actually looked at the end differently, where the aliens have recognized her maybe as a worthy opponent, let's say. And I'm basing this on, there's tiny clues throughout the movie. Like, part of her trauma is she has created this little village, right, in her house, this little model village, right? And this is my idyllic way that I wish my town was, right? And she's got all happy people there, and she's putting on her dress at the beginning, and she's got her little I'm doing my smile thing to just be a happy person.
But you notice that her dresses and stuff, they're kind of dated.
Oh, well, no, and that's the weird thing.
I think that's her delayed in her development.
But I also would say this movie's got a weird issue with time itself, because she also has a rotary dial phone in her house.
Why does she have that?
But she also has a brand new Subaru sitting, or a relatively new
why doesn't
Subaru
she have a phone? The answer is I believe you guys don't see it.
But there's also no. But anyway, my point is she's kind of been creating this idyllic life, or what she believes it to be.
Sure.
And I think,
because no one's forgiven her.
I think the aliens at the end, once they've done that immediate telepathic communication with her, have just decided, we're going to create this utopia for you, and all those other people around her are still under the possession of the alien parasites, and they're just letting her live her idyllic.
And you see them in their throats still, right?
Yeah.
You see the little...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but back to Gene. Where am I wrong with that?
I think that with the phones, I think the town hasn't forgiven her. And, you know, it's like it's the modern world we live in, right? If you're a controversial figure, you're gonna get trolled a lot. So she doesn't have a phone because she doesn't want to be getting text messages and emails and stuff. You know, people harassing her over her phone, so she doesn't have a phone. So she just has an old landline phone. But remember, when the phone rings, she just hangs up right away.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now I think that she has a wound that's not recoverable from. She's stabbed by the doppelganger, and that Bryn dies.
Yeah.
I
tend to go with Roger on this one. I don't think she's dead. I think that's for some reason they've given her this opportunity. You point out that she's they like her, or she's a worthy opponent. Or
whatever. It seems like they've decided a course of action for it.
Right. I think, I think the problem I have with that character in general, too, is that, well, first of all, I don't understand why they only give her one line of dialogue. I don't understand why they chose to go that route. Maybe it goes to what you were saying, Gene, about her being stilted or developmentally stopped because of the whole situation.
Yeah.
Which is why she dresses a certain way, or why her home is a certain way, which I don't know how she would take care of a house that big by herself. But
she has no choice. It's just her. The mom has passed away.
Right.
There's no one else in her life. So.
Right. And she apparently supports herself through like dressmaking or something on some kind of online Etsy or something. She has she's doing that. But
it's more like a friend, it seems.
But the more I think about the way the whole story goes is like does she have a character arc besides coming to terms with the crime that she committed? And again, I don't understand why the town treats her that badly when, yes, she did kill somebody, but it was more accidental than malicious. It wasn't premeditated. It wasn't like she's a serial killer. Mm-hmm. She did something stupid as a kid, and what adult cannot identify with that in some way?
Right.
So I had a problem with that. I did like the way it was presented with her memory, though, when they extracted her memory and everyone was kind of frozen in time while she moved around. That was well done. But I think the issue with that character that I have is I don't feel like she arcs all that much. I feel like she kind of stays on the same. It's almost. It's not like she's understanding the situation in a new light as much as everybody else understanding her in a new light, I guess, the aliens included. But that's not a character arc. That's a flat line. I mean, she's kind of staying the same through the whole movie until the end, where this whole idyllic scenario could be heaven, could be what the aliens provide for her. Well, clearly the aliens provided it because they're all in the sky, right? And they're, but why she's presented as almost like robotically happy, almost like a Stepford wife kind of happy at the end. I didn't understand that. That didn't seem to make sense from what came previously. It's like this is her perfect world where everyone's now a robot and
why not?
There's no free will and there's no
free will.
She's immature, that's in her mind. Her development has been stunted and delayed, and so her perfect world is, since we're looking at it, it seems silly in a way, but to her, that's what it is. It's perfect.
But for everything that came before that, though, where she was like this fighter and would not give up and would not quit, and now at the end, she's just kind of coalesced into this world that's been created for her. That didn't gel with what the whole movie was going for, in my opinion. But I have a problem with the whole movie, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think the ending. I'm okay with the ending, just because she is there is some sort of truce between her and the aliens. And she's provided this world that she's always wanted. She clearly identified that in the beginning when she's going into town to mail that package, and she's putting her smile face on and all that, and really wants to acclimate herself back into society, which is not going to allow her. And so the aliens
she waves at the neighbor, and the neighbor gives her the evil eye.
Well, and just straight up getting spit on in the police station.
Yeah, but it's the mom. That's the mom.
Right. Well, yeah, but. And now she's been provided. The truth is, here's your idyllic world that you wanted. She had been creating that dollhouse, that whole dollhouse village and all this stuff. And so she's like, I can do this.
So we're different here. I don't think the aliens gave that to her. I think that's her own creation.
But they're still around, right? They're clearly in the sky. And there's aliens, hundreds of saucers in the sky. And everybody's still got the little throat thing going on there.
The aliens have never left. But I think the agreement that they came to is that this person, just let her die, and then that's it. We won't interfere anymore with her.
See, the ending of this movie and parts of this movie kind of reminded me of the Host, the Stephanie Meyer, not great movie. Remember that one, which had similar little floaty, tentacly aliens that lived in human hosts. But that movie had a problem, in my opinion, because they were presented as this sort of benign alien race that had maliciously taken over the earth.
Right. And they're benign.
Right. Yeah, right. But it's just the same thing in this movie. It's like the whole first part of the 2/3 of the movie, they're presented as these seriously sinister, aggressive, warlike, creatures. And then at the end, they're just like this happy place people. I mean, I have issues. It's like pick a lane. I don't like it when movies take villains and try and make them into heroes at the end. And that's kind of felt like what they were doing here. So.
Well, but apparently it could just be because she's dead and she's in the afterlife now. So, whatever.
Yeah, I think she's dead.
Gene, what else you got with this one?
Yeah, I really like this movie, actually, the more we talk about it. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I really like the theme of forgiveness. I think it works in this movie. Yeah. So I would definitely say, check it out. Again, just 5 lines of dialogue, but it all fits. It fits within, the mystery. She doesn't forgive herself. It's like if you don't forgiving yourself, you live in your own head a little bit. And she's by herself. When you're by yourself, whether you talk to yourself, whether there's no dialogue when you're just by yourself, right?
Oh, well, when I'm by myself, there's some dialogue for sure.
But you're talking to yourself, so like nobody's really listening. So it's like, in a way, there you could not be talking at all because it's just for you. The audience is you. So, I think I see the whole dialogue thing, and the movie works for me. It happens. Yeah, I guess maybe I just don't know all those other movies, and so it seems original to me. Yeah. But, definitely as I was watching it, I saw all that because a lot of these other movies I have seen. So, sure, I've seen all the similarities and how they're drawing influences and ideas from other pictures, but it still works.
And, Scott, Gene has not changed your mind.
No, I mean, again, I agree with him about the themes and everything. I still stick with my because we really haven't talked about the action in this movie. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, beyond the scope of believability. Like, for example, in that one alien clearly inspired by Close Encounters, the kind of gangly one, that spidery thing that came after her and got stuck in the car. Mm. And so the car is leaking gas. So what does she do? She decides to,
has a lighter
and decides to go under the car and light the dripping gas on fire, and somehow escapes an explosion immediately. But all this actiony stuff in the middle, I felt was boring. And I think you could have just for the movie that you're looking at could be the exact same movie with the first and third act stuck together. So, but you've got an hour and a half movie, which means for me anyway, the whole second act didn't go anywhere. And so I was waiting for something to happen because it kept repeating itself. It kept doing the cat and mouse thing. They would vary it up a little bit. But first it was like a Close Encounters ripoff, and then it was an Invasion of the Body Snatchers ripoff, and then it was a combination of The Hidden and The Host ripoff. And
oh, you've seen The Hidden?
I have, yes, several times.
Oh, good.
Oh, several
good for
times.
You. Yeah, The Hidden is certainly great.
Yeah, it's a good one. But like I said, it felt like a cut and paste job for me.
Yeah, it's definitely derivative of a lot of other movies,
and all movies are, I admit that. But this just felt unoriginal to.
Oh well, we're going to talk about one.
Well, there are only like 7. That's 7 plot lines ever,
right?
So it all goes back to that.
But I'm on the fence with this one. I it's on Hulu, so it's not like you're shelling out tons of money. If you've got Hulu already, give it a shot. See what you think. You could be in Gene's camp, you could be in Scott's camp, or you could be in my camp where it was just this thing that happened and now it's over.
Well, I think it's telling that you said you couldn't remember the name.
Yeah. It is kind of a Well, but the problem with like streaming, right? Because there's other movies where like no one gets out alive, no one does this, no one does that, and I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this movie called?
Yeah, it's a common title.
Yeah,
which is a problem. I'm a big believer in have a great title. It's the first marketing tool you're going to have, and if people can't remember it, they're not going to find your movie.
Well, and speaking of great titles, the movie we must do next week, Gene, and you're all in. And Scott, I want you
to remind me of this great title.
If you've got the ability to join us next week, I strongly would love to have you here. It's called When Evil Lurks. It's an Argentinian film, currently playing on Shudder. Watched it last week after sitting through that Stephen King Boogeyman movie and some other piece of garbage. And I was like, oh, I'm in this funk again.
A lot of Stephen King movies are just terrible,
I hit play on this one, and OMG, baby. I love, love, love When Evil Lurks.
I don't know. Whenever Roger says he loves a movie, I just kind of I get a little scared. Because Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, you like that piece of garbage.
No, this is a whole different level. Thematic elements flowing all over this film. It is beautiful. And it does things that I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is great.
Is this in like Portuguese? Is it in
the native language? It is in native language. So I didn't check to see if there was a... what is that, dubbing option for it?
That's
okay. I'm all about the subtitles
and
stuff
I agree.
like that. But it is fantastic, and it is definitely a movie I want to get on this show because it needs to be seen for sure. If you've seen, one of the things great about horror movies, is you get to a point where, I've seen everything. How many more Killer Doll movies do I need to see, or how many more
they keep making
movies or whatever, right? And you're like, there's nothing more to see. And then, along comes When Evil Lurks, and you're like, that's why I watch horror right there. So, Scott, I hope you've got time maybe next week to join us for that.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, because we definitely need to do that. And
I have to renew my Shudder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the only one I've kept the whole time is Shudder. But I keep canceling. I had to renew Hulu to watch this one, and yay for me. Again. I will be canceling again, yes, but and then renewing again somewhere else.
I'll probably keep Hulu now because it has sports, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, well,
I can watch my
good.
Avs.
Oh, well, nice. Yeah, hockey season's going. So, any last words on this one?
I like this movie. I really like this movie. Yeah.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. I'm on the fence. We will catch you next week, hopefully with Scott back to talk about a much greater film, When Evil Lurks. Bye-bye.